Hello, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Hello, My Skies 5D. Hello, everybody. Love matters. There you are, my beloved friend. While everybody's joining us, I just wanted to start out first with actually doing tonight's report. This will be a little bit different. There are some things happening I want to get everybody caught up on. So while we're going to start this, I'm going to start by giving you guys some news on some things that are happening, and then we'll roll into taking some calls. But first, let's just check on a couple of things that are really, really interesting, guys. We have giant sinkholes suddenly draining large lagoon in Mexico, killing fish and crocodiles, and frightening the local population. So since Sunday evening, there's become a giant sinkhole here in Quintana Roo, Mexico. And it's actually drained. If you could look at the picture here on the left, this beautiful looking lake is now barren. And so all the water is basically drawn out. Everything in the lake is basically dead. And this is pretty big. The sinkholes are about 6 meters deep and up to 10 meters wide. And I've already drained at least 80% of the water contained in the 200 hectares and up to 10 meters deep lagoon. And according to local reports, there was a loud sound heard that sounded like a roar before this happened. So very interesting. Remember in France we had those rivers just going and just draining as well with sinkholes. So this is something that's becoming a more common occurrence. And then taking a peek over, we see Hurricane Lane heading in. But, you know, there are some reports that are expecting it to go more westward. So let's keep the push on. Let's keep the focus. Let's visualize that it's going to go westward. It's not going to make a direct impact. It's going to shift and continue to shift, and it's going to go westward. And it's not going to make a direct impact. Let's keep the prayers going and the positive thoughts going. And as we see, it's going to be a Category 3 storm at that point. There is a report of some campers trapped in a valley as well. It's YPO Valley on the northern coast of the island of Hawaii, known as the Big Island, where these campers are supposedly stranded right now. So there are severe conditions, including landslides and flooded roadways. They've made it unsafe for emergency response workers to launch and search for the campers. We can't go in because of the roads. There's a river of water down there. And so officials also said Thursday the storm was downgraded to Category 3, but still considered a major hurricane with maximum sustained winds between 111 and 129. And so keep the focus, my friends. Keep the focus. See it shifting westward. And so we look at the volcanic activity right now for the week. New activity allayed in the Kuril Islands, that's in Russia. There's some new activity there, as well as the Ryukyu Islands in Japan, and Kuchin Orabajima. Oh gosh. You know, can't they just make it shortened? Can't we just say Kuchi? Or we could say Kuchin, or, well, you know, over in the Ryukyu Islands. Let's leave it at that. We have enough activity going on as it is. Merapi in Java. In Nicaragua, we have Talika. We have Agung in Bali. Era, Kyushu in Japan. Anbe, Vanuatu. Cleveland up in Alaska. And quite a few others. Kopahu in central Chile, Argentinian border. Dukono in Indonesia. Ibeko and Paramushir Island in Russia. Definitely more activity going up in that area. Fuego in Guatemala, Ibu in Indonesia, Karamiski, and also in Russia. Kilauea, but yeah, as we know, that's died down quite a bit, but still ongoing. Sabankaya, and it goes on. Actually, there is quite a bit more activity in Russia lately. Sierra Negra as well. And as this is showing, lane center to pass dangerously close or hit Hawaii. But yet some are saying and expecting it now to maybe turn west and not do that direct hit. So, you know, should we take a little credit for it? Let's hope that we're having an influence, and let's keep sending that positive energy out there. And so this was interesting. This was sent in by a family member. And so what we have here is the Rapid City, South Dakota Municipal Government page. And when we look at this, they're saying, no, not a snow removal update in February, but it's actually a hail update in late August in downtown Rapid City. And look at it. I mean, it looks like it's snow in February. There's so much hail. As we see these scenes of more and more hail, which has become so common. And this is a Facebook friend, a new Facebook friend. And this is something that really got us very, very depressed today, as I went back to my old place to get more stuff to remove from it as I'm leaving, you know, the area that I do love so much. It's just horrifying, really, when you think about it and when you experience it. In the store, talking to a clerk, she just got to the area and she's already thinking of leaving, and she basically said, so you're gonna leave too? Are you leaving because of the red tide? Because obviously so many people are leaving because of the red tide now, and it's horrible because this area is so beautiful. I was looking, look at this is downtown Sarasota. Look at all these fish. I could smell it. It didn't even smell like dead fish. And you know, I'm a few hundred yards from my old place, you know, from the water, on basically a dead end, so I can't really see the water, but the water's down there, and it didn't even smell like dead fish. It smelled like death. It smelled like death, you know, days old death. It was really horrible. It wasn't, you know, wasn't the least bit pleasant. And look at all these fish all the way up on shore. The water looks disgusting. All this life that's now gone. And this is a vibrant spot. I would come here often, and I'd walk Zeke down through this area. There's a nice little restaurant you can hang out at, have, you know, happy hour and some hors d'oeuvres. And you know, look at these. These are all fresh photos from 2 days ago. Look at all those fish just dead up on shore. Look at them all. And you know, to me, I thought that Sarasota and Siesta was, you know, one of the most beautiful places. To me, the most, you know, the spot in the country in the United States that I wanted to be in. And you know, it's so sad to see this happen. The magnitude of this is just so huge. It really is. And it's very depressing. It honestly is. So crews recover a body of a man swept away in Wisconsin flooding. And oh yeah, glad that sometimes I have pictures out and I keep forgetting to tell you guys or show you guys these pictures. Yeah, Wisconsin's hit with some serious flooding around Madison. One of our Evolutionary family members sent in this photo, and this is not like this usually. This is a massive area. And she was just saying that she feels like the scope of the flooding is being way underreported. Way underreported. Hugely underreported, almost to the point of it being like a conspiracy. Because like she was saying that people can't even get across town or evacuate out of a certain area. And many of our family members have been talking about this as well, of things being basically way underreported. And we see a lot of activity going on. There's definitely a lot of swarming. One of the things that hits me is this over here. lots of activity trailing off into Yellowstone. And one of these in Utah was actually at almost 10,000 feet. So it really does make me wonder about some volcanic activity taking place. Okay, actually it was Idaho. Stand corrected, Idaho. Negative 2.8 kilometers. And I checked it out. I mean, it's not fracking anything. So interesting, lots of swarming. We know that there hasn't been a big pressure release along this whole area, actually even down into South America. So yeah, we're definitely on the lookout. And I know many of you follow Dutch, and of course, he's a great source to follow for this stuff. So a health center in Winter Springs suddenly shuts down, leaving patients looking elsewhere. And this is in Seminole County, Florida. A diagnostic center that's been keeping people in Winter Springs healthy for years has suddenly closed its doors, leaving patients and the community with unanswered questions. And so we don't know why they shut down. The State Department said the business was in good standing, no complaints. They don't know. But we shall see. And you know what? This could be, it might be unrelated, but maybe it's not. But all I can tell you is there's a lot of people leaving coastal Florida now. There's a lot of people leaving coastal Florida. So, is that what is going on? I don't know, but it could be because people are getting sick in droves down here, droves. So there's this dangerous kissing bug illness spreading across the southern U.S. as well. And this disease that's caused by kissing bugs, not like you have to kiss the bug to get the disease. It's more dangerous than it sounds and sickened over 300,000 in the U.S. And so it's blood-sucking triotomine bugs that are spreading an illness called Chagas disease. If it is left untreated, it can cause serious cardiac or intestinal complications in up to 30% of people infected with the virus, according to the AHA, and it could lead to heart failure, sudden death. And these bugs are usually found in Central and South America. It's becoming more common in the US, Canada, Europe, Australia, and Japan. And you can see locations where it's been reported, and then some that have potential. So you can see basically is Pennsylvania on down, all the way over to California. It's something to be concerned of. All right, and then to get on to a little bit more pleasant stuff. We had talked about storage, we had talked about foods and prepping and stuff, and somebody brought up a really good point saying that you could store white rice longer than brown rice, and yes, that's true. So this is a little chart for you guys, and of course I'll have all the links for you too on this after it's all done. And it just gives you an idea of how long stuff will store if you store it what way. And vacuum sealing is a great way to go, and I don't know how many of you guys do that, but that will definitely increase your span of time greatly. And so it's just, you guys could check this out for a reference point. And we have more info on this as well. Now these are some companies, the 8 best survival food companies to buy in 2018. Where to buy emergency food supply for disasters. And so this is just going to give you some places that you could get some good deals, some good quality stuff. Valley Food Storage is one. Augustin Farms, PrepareWise, Numana, Emergency Essentials, Wise Food Storage, eFoods Direct. And I'll have the link for you guys too, so this will give you some ideas on, check out what they have to offer, see what would fit what you need, and maybe they'll be able to help you guys out a little bit. And so this is out of USAEmergencySupply.com as well. And again, this is Storage Life of Dry Foods, so just some more information just to get into how long, what temperature, what to keep where, how to store certain things, and it's just more information for you guys, to really get ready, because now it's time to get ready. It's go time. If you're not ready now, well, we got to get our butt in gear, and that's all of us. It really does feel like now is the time. And so guys, so now we will open up. I just wanted to get you guys caught up on all those things, so if you guys want to, give a call in and we could discuss whatever you guys want to discuss. It's 614-400-5835, 614-400-5835. Something else I wanted to bring up, and I've gotten the same video from 3 people and within the last like 24 hours, and it is a video that has Deborah Tavares. Do you guys know Deborah Tavares? She's very, very outspoken, and she's talked all about the Agenda 21 thing, and she's talked all about things related to like Deagle, as we brought up before. And so there's a video out there that I will dig up and get you guys a link for, but she's talking about this plan, supposedly. Yes, Deborah Tavares. Let me see if I could pull her up here for you guys. So, I mean, she's done a lot on exposing Agenda 21, and she has definitely got one of the biggest targets on her back, probably of any of us that are out here doing this. She talks all about weather wars, the California fires, Agenda 21, and Stop the Crime is a good one for you guys to get some info. Stopthecrime.net. And you can find it out, 5G info page, and yep, there are some out there that don't believe 5G is going to hurt a fly. Believe me, there are some out there, and then it gets into a lot on dues, the plan to burn up California. I mean, there's so much on this. So, Stop the Crime is a good one to check out as well. But basically, Deborah Tavares, let's see. So it's about a plan, is what it's about, to detonate a nuke off the coast. And this is something that she's trying to expose, that there is this plan to detonate a nuke off the coast, which would end up giving you a 300-foot or more tsunami, and it can be made to look like it's a natural event, such as the Helena slump going or La Palma going, and that's part of the plan. But supposedly there's a Russian sub missing, and it's actually the Russians that are going to do this. And then, I mean, of course, that was pretty much the scenario that we saw in the movie How It Ends, that was on Netflix. So that made me think of that movie right away. And as we know, a lot of times these things are given to us out there ahead of time, and then something really, really happens. Yeah, a tsunami bomb, exactly. I'm not sure. Have you guys seen that video? Because Gordon, you're not drunk, are you? Are you really? Or is it just the earth changes that are making you feel a little bit wobbly? But yeah, and there is definitely this sense, as I was saying yesterday, I have gotten so many messages from family here, Evolutionary Energy Arts family here in Florida, saying that, they feel like it's go time, and so they're doing their thing and they're making their plans, and looking to move on up and out, and so everybody's kind of feeling it. So guys, if you want to give a call in, it's 614-400-5835. Again, it's 614-400-5835. Let's see what you guys want to talk about. Whether you want to talk about Hurricane Lane. There's so much going on, as we know. And again, let's put our intentions and our focus on it. I know Gordon was involved, and I think others were involved as well, with an 11:11 a.m. Basically a prayer, focused intention get together today to steer it. And so, we got to keep on it. We got to keep on it. It's a good thing. Keep that focus, keep that intention going. And it's at that point, it's at that critical junction. I don't think Hawaii was swarming. We could take a quick peek. We got 13 right now in Hawaii. So yeah, not too bad. Not like it was. This is all over by Kilauea. Quite a few of them above sea level, so it could still be some magma flow, but not bad at all. Not compared to when we were having 500 to 700 of them. So we have a new one on the west Chile rise of 4.7 just popped in. Yeah, again, still waiting for something big coming through. See a lot of swarming going on through California and heading out towards Yellowstone. We still have a lot of swarming all through Alaska, especially on that northern part there. And these two are on the New Madrid area. Yep, we're right in there. So last night we were talking also about some of our family members. There we go. Okay. So I wanted to share this with you too. And this is a wonderful lady that actually used to live in Tampa, and I'm really trying to get her on the show. I don't think at the moment she is ready to come on the show, and but I'd love to have her on the show because she actually was clinically dead for 38 minutes. That's a long time to be clinically dead. And you know what she said? She said there's no fear on the other side. There's nothing but love. And there was nothing judgmental or anything. It was just pleasant. She said, think of it as like when you're in meditation and all that chatter stops and there's just that blissful feeling, that inner peace. She said that's what it felt like. And not only that, but she shared that she was told after she had recovered and came back, she was told to leave, that she had to leave this area. And she did have a dream or a vision of tsunami. So she did leave, and she is now in North Carolina in the mountains. And so she reached out to me just to share her story, and she's a wonderful lady. And she had a brain tumor and actually did clinically die. And so, like she says here, when I was instructed during a meditation to leave Florida, at the same time we received a totally random invitation to visit North Carolina. We visited and knew this was where we belonged. I knew I wanted to live in the mountains on a piece of property that had its own reliable water source, not dependent on any municipality, and we found a house on a mountain in the Great Smoky Mountains with its own well and bought it that very day. Pretty awesome. And that's how you know, God works. That's how Spirit works. And you know, that's a beautiful thing. And you know, she ended up making it back. And so she was instructed to leave the area, and she has. And another lady, another great family member I've been talking to now on a little bit more regular basis, she's also in our area, and she's down in Fort Myers. She's been thinking of selling her home for the last few months. Her husband of 34 years passed away last year and was thinking of heading to East Tennessee. I felt the earth shaking and feel not panicked, but also the need to move quickly. So none of her kids or grandkids understand what she is feeling, and they all tell her she's full of doom and gloom, and that if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, but she's asking for prayers for guidance. And a beautiful thing. Hello, my friend. You are on the air. And who do we have with us?
This is Kim. I'm from Central Oregon.
Hi. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. So what would you like to talk about?
I'd kind of like to know if, well, actually, it made me feel less stupid, for lack of a better term, when you said in your earlier post that you woke up at some early time in the morning and had to check the news because you had this, like, impending feeling that something was going on.
Yeah.
I've been wrestling with that for a week now, and it's driving me nuts. I was starting to think that maybe I'm addicted to social media or YouTube or something, because I keep thinking something is happening, and I keep going to the phone to see what it is, and nothing is there. So I'm just curious if there's, you know, a big segment of the population that's kind of feeling the same thing, and then please tell me where that's coming from, because I'd really like it to go away.
I know. I'm looking at the comments, and Chris P says 5 a.m. and that's when it hit me. And I was actually having a pleasant dream. It was I really feel that I saw the property that I'm supposed to go to or be on, and it was kind of flat, but it was surrounded by mountains, and it felt really good in my dream. But then when I woke up, I just had this feeling of something's wrong, you know, and like I better get up and check the computer, see if something's happened. But there was nothing super major, but at the same time I can't shake that feeling. And a lot of people are feeling this, and that's why I was trying to really get across, and I probably am not getting it across as well as I'd like to, but in the last, like, say 3 days, I have had so many people saying this exact same thing, you know, like there's something really, really big coming. So you're not alone by any means.
And I know there's a way to check that, what is that thing called, the not Maunder minimum, it starts with an S, that it measures the, help me out, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, the Schumann Resonance.
Thank you. Does anyone pay attention to that on a regular basis?
I do, and actually I tied in a link so you could go to my site, Evolutionary Energy Arts, click on the live data feeds, and the first thing that's going to come out at the top is going to be the Schumann Resonance. And I mean, it's been high forever. Really, like lately, we're in a totally different zone than what it used to look like.
Because it's just staying up, it's not coming back down. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, it's staying at a pretty high level now. It does vary depending on location. Like, it's being monitored in five major locations around the globe. It's taking a little while for it to load right now, probably because I have so many things open. But yeah, it's been pretty high, and there's more than that too. There's the Global Consciousness Project, which you could monitor that on my site as well. and it shows these periods of peak activity where everybody is kind of, experiencing a heightened sense of consciousness. And, it's part of what we call ascension. And I think lately I haven't focused enough on ascension because there's been so much going on just with all the changes.
Does anyone in the family, as you call it, feel like or had a dream or a wakeful dream, or I don't know what to call it, everybody uses different vernacular, of some specific something that's impending, or are we all just feeling this heightened sense of anxiety because we know the change is here? It's like you can't deny it anymore. It's everywhere. It's palpable.
The one thing I get from a lot of people is visions of a tsunami. And Keith Henry, who's a regular, he just said that he asked his daughter and son-in-law to cancel their cruise leaving from Portland to Alaska next Tuesday. Was he right? And I don't think I would go out on a cruise right now, honestly.
Yeah, you couldn't get me on a boat right now. No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just that feeling. I mean, a lot of people, the two things I've heard the most are the same ones that I've experienced recently, and that's tsunami, and also some sort of invasion or some sort of, just military on the streets.
What's really interesting is I don't have TV, so all I have is YouTube and Netflix, yada yada, but there's like 10 different sites I follow. I listen to them like podcasts because it's easy to listen to when I work. And those two dreams that you are talking about are also repeated at various different other people who talk. People will call in or talk about these dreams that they're having, and they're also invasion or tsunami or earthquake that causes tsunami. And what's really interesting is, are we coming up with that on our own? Is it truly some kind of knowing, or our movies that we watch, what was the one you quoted recently? I mean, we've all watched it. It was on Netflix with Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, How It Ends. And that's the exact
scenario. Is that
scenario.
playing into our thoughts? You know what I mean? Is it permeating our consciousness so we're thinking? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I really do. I think, they do give us ideas so that we will help to manifest it. And I think that's done on purpose. And there could also be, the thought that, these things are putting out there to warn us as well. So
right.
It's a double-edged sword. It's like, you don't want to pay too much attention and feed it energetically, but at the same time, you want to know, hey, if it's time to go, it's time to go. Yeah.
Yeah, a little warning. I wish you weren't in Florida. Just because, we listen to you, we care about you, wish you'd get to some higher ground kind of thing.
Well, thank you. I've made a small step. At least I'm above Tampa now, because last, when I evacuated for Irma, it just took forever just to get past Tampa. And so
wow.
I just knew, say it was a La Palma event, and that's the Canary Islands one, and that is probably the scariest scenario for people on the East Coast. We'd have about 7 or 8 hours before the wave would hit us, and the wave, according to experts, would be between 300 and 1,000 feet high. So it's not a good thing. And just
even the low end of that is bad.
Oh yeah, and it took me, it took me 12 hours to get out of Florida last time. So
wow.
It's being done in stages. Now I'm starting to look at options. Even if I just, buy a small piece of land and just, camp out with some friends until we can
right.
afford to actually build something. And there's so many people in the family that, I was just sharing with one of my best friends that a good family member right now is basically homeless. And it's like, I'm not living at my own place right now. I'm living by the grace of somebody else that's allowing me to come in. And so, I wish I could take him in, and I would if I had my own place. But he doesn't even have a tent now. He's just simply, he's got a sleeping bag, and that's what he's doing. And there are people out there in that situation. I've run into a bunch of other friends lately that are all facing situations of pretty much homelessness.
So is it economic driven? I mean, have they lost their jobs because of an economic downturn? Is it weather related?
Well, some of them are actually on disability, actually not able to do a regular full-time job. They have different health concerns and, or health bills and stuff that have just, devastated them economically. I've seen that with many people, and I think I actually covered this one husband and wife not too long ago, maybe about 10 videos ago, where he was making like $150,000 a year and she was making a good living, and now they're both homeless. So wow. There's all these different circumstances that come up, and just kind of waylay our plans. I've had friends that we're doing really, really well, and then all of a sudden cancer, boom, hits them, millions of dollars worth of bills.
Right.
Everything just collapses. It doesn't take
much anymore.
No.
I didn't mean to pry. I was just curious because I've been, kind of trying to keep a pulse on the, economic health of different areas of the country. I know it's different from region to region. It doesn't look the same everywhere, so I was just curious.
It is. There's different things going on. And the health system is just so messed up. The whole system's messed up, and definitely needs a revamping.
Right.
Right. We've seen the tent cities that are out west are just insane, and
yeah, those are awful.
Yeah,
those are awful. The conditions are awful. The mass numbers of people that are trying to pack into one area is not good, and then the community around them gets angry, and then the city gets, it's just a bad situation. I mean, I understand they have somewhere to go, but what I don't understand is, and I don't know, is in Portland, for example, I'm not near Portland, but I saw the tent city last time I was there, and it's hard to know if those people are Native Oregonians or people who've been in Oregon for a long time, or they've just migrated that way because there is a tent city there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's hard to know.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I first moved to Sarasota, and then actually started to walk the streets and not just be only in the touristy areas. I was just struck with, oh my God, look at all the homeless. I mean, there's so many homeless here, and then they congregate in bunches together, for their own protection, and then also lift up each other's spirits. But it was just overwhelming, and if you actually go and talk to some of these people and get their stories, they will surprise you, because you'll find there's people living on the streets that have PhDs, that have been, top of their game in whatever field they were in. And things can strike. I mean, me personally, I've had nice homes, and accumulated a little bit of toys. Nothing major, because I've always been kind of a minimalist in some ways, and kind of against the system. But still, with me, it's been relationships. So I've been divorced, and then I just basically, just to, not have a fight about anything, I just, I'll sell you my interest in the house, and you could take all that for $1, just to, make things friendly. So, there was no fighting, and I just walked away from it and started over again, from scratch.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I got one of those under my belt, too.
Yeah. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. But yeah, part of the vision that I have is I'd love to start an intentional community. And I know anywhere from 10 to 20 people that I feel would come into it and join in. And, it's just a matter of doing it right, and where everybody could have enough self-autonomy, because you don't want to, get to where you're stepping on each other's toes. So the ideal thing would be if everybody could just, have their own little plot of land, but yet, everybody buying land in one particular area, so they had their own autonomy, but we could count on each other, because we're going to really have to be a strong tribe to get through these things.
I I agree with you, and it's interesting you brought that up because this is relatively anonymous, right? Like, my phone number and stuff isn't all posted on this website, right?
No.
Or on this.
No, I mean, even what I see, I don't even see your number. It just says wireless caller.
So I have been homesteading a piece of property and have slowly, painstakingly, invited folks to come in who are like-minded, and it is not an easy process to work through that group mentality because so many things come up that you don't expect when you're talking about, I mean, I don't want to use the word communal living because that's not what it is. Each person has their own area. But we've had classes out here and we've done various things and learned different trades, and it's been incredibly eye-opening that you cannot do this alone. Mm-hmm. You cannot, the days of, staking a claim on 100 acres of land and thinking that you and your husband or whatever can go off and do it on your own. It's so much work to homestead a piece of property. It is so much work. I mean, everything takes longer and is harder. And then if you're talking about a situation where things get really icky, like I'm assuming a lot of us who are like-minded listen to this channel it's like people are going to have to keep watch. It's going to take a community to pull it off. You're right.
It is, and I don't think people realize that yet. I mean, because even if you're in a nice house...
they've got a rifle and they're going to go, make dinner. It's like, okay, have you really even considered that, okay, fine, if you know how to hunt and it's more than just going out and, quote, shooting a deer, you have to know how to hunt, you have to understand how an animal moves around and know your area, but then what? You've shot the animal, so what? That's going to feed you maybe 2 or 3 days till it spoils. Do you know what to do with the meat after that? Do you have any of the skill set to make that deer meat last longer?
And especially if there is no grid, if there is no power.
Right. Or they think, we'll just go garden. It's like, okay, well, have you ever gardened? Because it's not so easy. It's not automatic. Just because you put the seeds in the ground does not mean they're actually going to provide you food 2 or 3 months down the road. So I think that there's a lot of misconceptions with, how easy it's going to be. Or, I can just do this without really thinking through all the steps involved. It's like, where are you going to get the water to water your garden?
Exactly.
And do you have bullets for your gun? Because maybe those aren't going to be available anymore for you to shoot this deer you think you're, going to go back. I don't know. I think that most people don't think through steps 3, 4, and 5 and really understand what it's going to take.
Right. So when you're starting to put a community together, you're looking for like-minded people, and you have to be pragmatic as well. So you really have to realize your own, like you're saying, your own strengths and weaknesses, and you want to have a balanced community as well. And I know I am definitely in many ways a bleeding heart, so I would not turn people away. And I've heard so many other people that are thinking about these things. I had one telling me yesterday that if a woman and a baby that came up to the community starving, we wouldn't bring her in. We might give her a piece of food, but we're not going to bring her in because we're going to expect that she's going to be scouting for some rival group that's going to then come and swoop in and attack. So you have to realize the mentalities that are out there, and it's pretty scary because early on I did have some people reach out to me and wanted me to consider coming in with them, and were they prepared. But they also had this mentality that was so militaristic where do you want to be with people that are that way, that are going to not have a problem pulling the trigger on somebody because they might be a potential danger without really knowing. We don't want to go backwards. We're supposed to build a better society, so we don't want to go backwards and be fear driven as well.
No, but in every okay, I'm not going to say every, that'd be elite, but in most of the TV shows and movies that portray some kind of an apocalyptic, forgive me for the use of the term, type of environment moving forward, that is the mentality. It becomes militaristic and shoot first, ask questions later, and roving gangs. That's what people have in their minds. I mean, for me, the bigger question, and we've had this discussion many times in our own community, is, okay, so it's not the lone woman and the baby that shows up. The questions that we raise are a little more realistic, like an acquaintance from your job shows up with this family. Do you turn them away or do you take them in? And that brings, a couple things to mind. One, I don't want to turn anyone away, because my heart is to help people. But the realistic question in my mind is, if I take in this family of 4, then let's pull a number out of a hat. Say you have a year's worth of food for 6 people, and all of a sudden you bring in a family of 4. How many less meals is that for my own kids? That's what the real question is. And I don't care what skill set this guy has to offer, this wife. The reality is, it's a limited number of food. And do you see where I'm going with that?
No, yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of things to think through. I mean, I'd rather that people just pre-positioned their crap out here and, everybody'd be ready together. I hope everybody's ready. I have it feels like people are waking up, but I don't see action. I don't bring this up ever to talk about this unless I know it's like a safe environment to talk on. So why in the world I'm doing this on the internet is beyond me, but it doesn't feel like people are actually taking the step to prepare and stock up on supplies and set some extra, even storm supplies aside. I mean, you go in people's houses and, they open their cupboard to make dinner or whatever. It's like they got like 3 days worth of food. I mean, really? You go to the grocery store every 4 days? Is this how America lives?
Yeah.
It's frightening.
It really is. It is pretty much how so many do live. And then, one was bringing up the fact of, what are we going to do for, like, if you're up in a northern climate, how are you going to get your vitamin C? I mean, there's so many health concerns that we don't even think about because we're so easily able to get a balanced diet. But that's going to change. That is so going to change. It's already kind of changing. You could see it in the stores if you look close. You'll notice some things have gone way up in price. Other things just aren't there, or if they're there, they look like crap.
However, they won't be buying packaged Twinkies and Ho-Hos anymore, so maybe they'll actually get healthier.
Yes.
They're having to grow their own salad and radishes because you can actually get a crop out of those in 26 days. Maybe that's what people will go to instead of a loaf of Wonder Bread and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it is key, but you're right, and you know what? You're not going to be able to do it alone. And even if you live in a really nice, affluent neighborhood, it's still when it really does hit the fan.
Well, you know what scares me about any kind of town or city situation is not the people. I mean, in really bad situations, you most of the time see the best pieces of humanity. Most of the time you will see the good stuff in people. Even if they're not fantastic people, they'll help a woman with a door if she's struggling, or they'll pick something up if a woman's carrying a baby, or if they see a car wreck and you're one of the first 4 cars or whatever, everybody piles out of their cars to go see if they can help. That piece of humanity that I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? What frightens me about crappy Schumer hitting the fan situation is the man who hasn't prepared, who has a wife and 2 kids, and they're hungry and he's scared. That's who scares me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because all bets are off. You don't know what he's going to do. You don't know what he's capable of. How far he's willing to go to feed his family, or in how dire straits they are. Things will be different. It's not like meeting a homeless man on the street that, you know, knows if you pass him by, the next 2 or 3 people might give him a buck and he'll make it through the day. It's not going to be like that.
No, it's not. My Skies 5D, I made a comment that her family threw out like 300 pounds of food that she had stored because they felt it was negative.
Negative?
Yeah, like to prep was giving into fear and negativity. And I mean, I think we got to be practical. You know, we always want to, you know, hope for the best, focus on the best outcome. But, you know, I mean, you have to also prepare. You just got to be ready.
It's more like an insurance policy. I mean, worst case scenario, you eat it.
Right.
I mean, we went through some rough financial times, and I was pretty happy that I had some extra supplies set away, because it, you know, if you don't have to spend money on groceries for a month, wow. You know, you can continue making the car payment, and you can maybe keep the cell phone on, etc., etc. But I wish I was one of those people who could memorize Bible verses, because there's all kinds of Bible verses that talking about putting away stuff in the winter when it's a good year for the bad year. You Bible people who remember that stuff better can probably write that all down online, but there's multiple places. It's like ants do it, bugs do it. Many animals in the animal kingdom sock away in the summer to get through the winter. It's the same mentality. It's just like insurance. It's really sad that they threw all those stores of food away.
Exactly.
And I hope we won't need them. I really do. I hope that this will all blow over and be nothing, but I keep telling myself that, and then I know it's not true. It's palpable now. You can feel it coming.
You can. You definitely can, and that's where we started this conversation, because so many people are feeling it now. And one of the other family members said, "Well, what can I possibly do, you know, when I live in the city?" So, I mean, it's part of a tough decision, you know, and we do have choices, even if it feels like we don't have choices. There are always choices, and when you're faced with, you know, these type of things. If we lose the grid and things go to chaos, you know, it's like being in the middle of a big city is going to be pretty scary in many ways. We've seen rioting, you know, tremendous rioting, tremendous looting, you know, the gang mentality.
There's still things they can do, though.
Oh,
if
yeah.
someone lived in a city in an apartment building, if I lived in a city in an apartment building and I knew for some reason I couldn't choose to go somewhere else and get out of this city, the first thing I would do is start really becoming aware of who's around me and where things are and who people are around me, and start like reaching out and talking to people. You can kind of find out if someone is like-minded or not without giving away a lot of information. There's ways to just break the ice and have the conversation. I think if you're going to be in the city, you need to get people on your side. And if you know people and have befriended people in your neighborhood, then they're allies to help you. And together as a group, you're going to make it.
Yeah, but again, as you had said, you know, there's definitely strength in unity, and it really is time to band together. And yeah, we have to start thinking out of the box, and we really have to start, you know, becoming basically more of a unified tribe. And everybody has a different skill set. Like one of our family members, he bugged out, I think it was back in April, and he still touches base with me. He's up in the mountains. He's up in the Smokies. And, you know, I consider him a brother, and he just checks in every so often. But he bugged out back in April, and you know, he's easily able to live off the land by himself, no problem. So he's got that skill set. And even though he has absolutely no money, he's got nothing to his name, you know, his abilities are going to be really, really valuable in what's to come. And, you know, so he would be one person that I would, definitely love to have come into the community. But with me, honestly, I would have a hard time turning anybody away, and that's just who I am.
Right. Well, listen, I don't want to take up a ton of your time. I'm sure there's other people that want to call, but once again, it's always nice talking with you. I appreciate bouncing ideas off of you and hearing what the family has to say. It's incredibly helpful, and it's support. I feel supported, you know what I mean? Knowing that even though you have no idea who I am or where I am, I feel like the family that listens and watches and goes to the live chat, we all kind of feel the same way on some level, and that feels good. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
No, well, thank you for being part of it, and for you and for anybody out there. Feel free to contact me anytime, evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. And I try to remember to get back to everybody. I really, 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 truly do. And, honestly, through this medium, I've made some people, made some friends that I wouldn't even call friends. I would call them nothing more than family. I mean, I love them. And it's amazing how, the relationships have just simply developed and blossomed to the point where, they're more family than people that are blood related, and it's been just a short period of time, months, and you just feel this kinship, and
Right.
that okay, well, there's another person that I really do feel like I could probably count on, and I'll be there for them as well, and that's really what we have to do is really, really band together, start to make our communities. Because, it's going to be freaking crazy out there. We can already see how it is in so many places across this globe right now. So some people have expertise in one area, some in another, and we need to utilize everybody's experience and their abilities and put it together to create a better, harmonious whole.
Right. Agreed.
Well, thank you so much for sharing everything you did. It was a great call.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Namaste, sister.
All right. Bye-bye.
So that was a great call. And there's so much to talk about, so much to touch on. We don't want to look at it from a paranoid, phobic point of view. And we don't want to even just fully get caught up with the we got to survive mentality no matter what the cost. Of course we do. But we need to look at the bigger picture. And, if I know a lot of you people out there are people of faith. We might not have exactly the same faith, but we have faith. We have belief in humanity, in spirit, in God, in Jesus, in Buddha, in whatever it is. We know right from wrong, and we know how we're supposed to love each other, how we're supposed to pick each other up. And so it's time to do that now. It really is. It's time to put your hand out and help somebody else. And, not necessarily even doing it out of knowing that you're going to get help back. It's more about lifting up in vibrations. And as I had shared with that last caller, honestly, it's been so busy that I've gotten sidetracked from the whole ascension thing. But ascension is something I totally believe in. I totally, totally do. And many of you don't. But when you really look deeper, it is all about changing our consciousness. It's about realizing the oneness of all life. It's all about, if you want to put it into a biblical context, it's all about becoming the bride of Christ. Really look deep. Really look deep. We have to be centered in love. We have to be centered in compassion. We have to be centered in unity and oneness. Really, we have to look at the bigger picture. So I do have an open line. If you guys want to give a call in, do call in and share what you're thinking. And I would love to hear what you guys are thinking, what you guys are planning, and what you're experiencing as well. What are your dreams? I mean, share with me your dreams, because everybody's having these crazy, vibrant dreams right now. Everybody's dreams are going to new levels. They're just seeming so much more real. which makes me think of a dimensional merge, you know, because I do feel like that's what's happening. Everything is changing. We are changing. The Earth is changing. The Earth changing is something that is pretty damn obvious. Completely obvious. We can't deny that. You know, it couldn't be anymore. Couldn't be any more obvious how many changes are happening in the Earth itself right now. And this is the time that we've all been waiting for most of us, ready for, and you know, some of us have been preparing for a long time. You know, a lot of interesting comments going on right now out there in the chat room. How many of you are seeing things that you've never seen before? How many of you are seeing things in the sky, whether it's different cloud patterns, whether it's things you can't explain, lights, energies, things along those lines? How many of you are seeing things up in the sky that you've never seen before? How many of you are experiencing things you've never experienced before? How many of you are feeling vibrations, tingling, different sensations, fluctuations in temperature, like all of a sudden you're almost running at temperature and then all of a sudden you're very, very cold? We're going through tremendous changes. And these changes are basically going to be permanent. We are changing, we're shifting, we're evolving. And so some will look at the word evolve or evolution and be fearful and think that it means there is no creation. But there is creation, and things also evolve at the same time. There's both. There's both. There's creation and evolution. Both things. Although I don't really believe in Darwinism, I don't believe in a lot of the negative aspects of Darwinism. But yet things do evolve, and yes, there is also creation. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Steve.
Hi, Steve. Can I get you? Hi, Steve. Can I get you to turn your radio down in the background?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now. Sorry. There you go.
Great. So what would you like to talk about, Steve?
Anything and everything.
There's so much, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like, people are talking about, prepping and stuff like that. It's expensive, no doubt about it. But the thing is, you could still do something. I mean, I bought like 2 10-pound bags of rice, put them in glass jars, because the last time I had plastic, and the bugs got in there, so I put them in jars, and the jars are probably better. Glass,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I bought like 12 packs of toilet paper. I'm just giving information, so maybe that might give somebody ideas to help themselves. I mean, like I buy tea tree oil, I buy, medical stuff. You can buy cheap on some things, cheap online. You got to do research, obviously, right?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, people could get like information and print out like to eat dandelion roots or stuff like that, and eat certain plants and flowers and stuff, so it's not poisonous or something, and they could get information and keep that, staple it, and then keep it all together so they know what they need to do in case of, an unfortunate circumstance, There's many things to do. I mean, it's like you could, and it doesn't cost you that much money. You can get free paper at the library or something. Print it out at the library or whatever.
There you go. So are you in New York? Are you in New York City, or are you in New York City or New?
Long Island. I'm in Long Island in the suburbs. Very expensive to live out here, but by the grace of God, I was homeless at one point a couple of years ago. But through my friend, she hooked me up with a cousin, and I never looked back. It's like unbelievable. I'm telling you, I'm not paying that much money rent. I got the favor of the Lord, and I take care of this house. I do all kinds of stuff, vacuuming, I clean up, I don't care. I take care of this house like as if it was my own, because you know what? When you're down and out, and God just shows you favor, you don't forget that, you know what I mean? I don't forget. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm pretty humble. I take care of this house like as if it was my own.
Well, that's a beautiful thing.
I appreciate every little thing in life, But when it comes to relationships, it's a completely different thing. But I like to help people, and one thing is I have this relationship where they don't understand. They're zombified by the system. They just don't get it, and it frustrates me. I want to smack them in the face in a nice way and just wake them up somehow, like, wake up, smack them in the head, or something, but it's so hard and so frustrating, and I feel like we are a small minority of what we believe in, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
And don't you feel that way, like you're alone a lot, even though we have God and we have faith, and without that, I probably would be in a way worse situation for me. I'm not pushing religion on anybody or beliefs or anything like that. I'm just saying what works for me. This is what works for me. It's got me through tons of problems, tons of horrible situations, and it's amazing, man, how life turns out. But it's hard to get to certain points in one's life, and I think there's a lot of depressed people out there, and I see people doing things to themselves and killing themselves. Suicide's number 10 on the illness list, they have diabetes and heart disease, and they have, suicide also. I write music, and I try to, sing to people through my YouTube site, and hopefully maybe it'll get to somebody, and try to help them that they don't have to resort to things like that, to hurt themselves, to think that that's the only way out, man. It's just, it's just not the way out, man. To do something horrible to yourself.
Right.
I try to help as many. Huh?
Would you share, what's your YouTube site? Would you share it with us so we could check out your music?
Yeah, it's Steven Stoffers. I don't really try to plug myself in, but since you asked, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to do that. I was just trying to be real, But yeah, it's Steven Stoffers. That's the YouTube site. Steven, Stoffers, Steven with a V. Steven Stoffers. And I write, about my experiences. It's faith-based. It's, what I believe in the Bible, what has done to my life, and I apply a lot of it to my life. And I try to reach people that are struggling and going through hard times and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, so I try to help people. I try to help my landlord. He goes, I don't want to hear about faith, Jesus, and I don't want to hear about your stories about, the world and this and that. They just want to sit in front of a TV, or they want to hang out at parties and stuff, and just escape through these types of things. Which I think if there is some kind of a shock situation, they're not going to be able to wrap their heads around. You know that. And I'm so glad I can talk to people like you. And I'm so glad that you're doing something like this. This is huge and vitally important for us to be able to share with each other, to be able to communicate. This is the Gutenberg press, of the modern day. You know what I'm talking about?
Exactly. So yeah, I got your site up there, and subscribed. So I hope others will do as well and listen to your music, because music's beautiful. That's our soul speaking. That's our soul, and I find it to be another way to meditate. You know, you just get lost in it. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's different. I mean, you look at, like, even King David. He danced and his clothes fell off, and then the girl from the window saw him. You know, and she said something negative, derogatory. What are you doing? You know, like, so it affects people differently, you're right, and people get lost in it. And, you know, come on, his clothes came off, he must have really got lost in it. It's so funny. I mean, I don't really know the story, but that's just hilarious stuff sometimes. The Bible's amazing. They really go, you know, people don't really, I think that what happened with this system is zombified us. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but I'm telling you, man, these schools are Nazi campgrounds, man. And they poison the minds of the children. They poisoned me. For so long, I couldn't believe it. Right after 9/11, I started to realize there's something wrong with this freaking world and in this country, too. And after that, I was waking up year after year after year. After 2007, I started really waking up. And in 2013, man, forget about it. I was like, yo, I'm on some kind of, you know, being a woke train, you know, and I'm riding this, you know, wake up, oh sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you kind of train, you know?
Right.
And it's just been unbelievable. It gets better. My life may be boring at times, but you know what? Today, I don't even have time to play my guitar anymore, and I do archery also. I'm so busy doing lawns and taking care of my house and cleaning up and just doing these, you know how they say take care of your backyard? Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm taking care of my backyard, and I want to be a clean person. I just want to, you know, be a better person. I'm not trying to be in competition because I think that's a wrong outlook. I think that we should all, you know, clean our backyard up, focus, and not focus on the world so much. You know what I mean? Like, just take care of yourself, because you know what? If you can take care of yourself and do a good thing, you know, help yourself, people are going to see that and say, look, that guy's a hard worker, or that woman, she works hard over there. And they're going to notice that. We don't have to say a word sometimes. We can just do it by actions, right? And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm a talkaholic.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Well, I definitely appreciate the call. Thank you for sharing that, and I hope we get some more subscribers over to your music, and I look forward to actually listening to your music, too.
And thank you for your time. I really appreciate that.
No problem. Namaste, my brother. Thank you so much.
God bless you. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll be listening.
You too. God bless.
All right, thank you. Bye.
So that was a great call from Brother Stephen there. And so we do have another open line. I know I just missed 2 callers, but feel free to give a call right back. So many different things going on, so many things to talk about. But now more than ever, it's really, really, really time, you know, for us to really bind ourselves together and really to go to another level. And going back to the original purpose from yesterday's, let's again use our intent and our focus and our creative abilities to make positive change, you know, in the world, whether it's Hurricane Lane and bumping that hurricane a little bit to the west so it doesn't come in and make landfall in Hawaii and, you know, create tremendous destruction, or whether it's something just as simple as just, you know, reaching out to a neighbor and, you know, finding out what they are doing and what they are up to. Hello, caller. You're on the air, and who do we have with us now?
My name is Colby, and I'm actually a Florida resident as well. I believe that's what you are.
Yes. How you doing, Colby? What part of Florida are you in?
I'm in Bradenton, Florida.
Oh, wow. You're really close.
Yes. That's part of the reason why I chose to call in tonight. I wanted to, you asked about dreams and desires and the way that we see things moving. I'm in a campaign currently to legalize cannabis in the state of Florida, a little bit beyond what other states have done, and actually declare it a constitutional right. So I wanted to talk about that. That is my actual dream.
Okay. Yeah, well, do share.
Okay, well, in the state of Florida, what we're trying to do is establish cannabis as a Article 1 right within our Constitution through ballot initiative process. If we're successful in doing so, will establish that every person 21 and older in the state of Florida would have a right to possess, cultivate, and use cannabis. It wouldn't require a medical card and the nuance of that, but it would allow people to have an uninfringed right, somewhat similar to the right to bear arms, but that right would exist for possessing, cultivating, and using cannabis by anyone 21 and older. What is your thoughts on something like that, since you are a state president?
I think it's up to the individuals. So, I like to see government getting out of a lot of things. Honestly, I think it all has to go down to a local level. But I do think, like, when it comes to cannabis, as a healthcare practitioner myself and going to many different seminars, I know the benefits of CBD for sure, and THC does have benefits as well. So I do also, I think that so much of this has been twofold. I think there's been a real push, for one, to keep the healing effects of CBD, out of the public's grasp, so that they'll buy pharmaceuticals. That's part of it. And then also the other part of it is keeping us away from experiencing higher states of consciousness and altered states of reality, which then tend to give you a different feeling about life in general. And sometimes we view things differently and recognize that we're being manipulated, or your consciousness expands and you recognize that there's a lot more to life than just what we learn in school. So I'm all for it, honestly.
Right on. Well, that is something that if you're ever in the area of It's All Good Smoke Shop in Bradenton, swing on by. I'd love to shake your hand in person. I've been listening to your show for a little while, and I was under the impression that you were more of an open-minded person for personal liberties and the ability for people to make those choices on their own than you would be for supporting the furthering or continuance of the existing prohibition that we currently experience, which arrests literally millions of people over the duration.
I totally agree. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of people that have been incarcerated for years for just having a small amount of it on them. And
in Colorado, if I could, I'd just like to add, in Colorado, Washington State, California, everybody assumes that legalization results in no more jail time. And the unfortunate thing is that there's people arrested in those states every single day due to cannabis. And that's the problem with the form of legalization that's creeping across the country. It's more of a tax and control type issue than it is a right to the people. And personally, I speak to people in the public when I'm collecting signatures on our petition, and I can tell you that the public agrees. We should have an inherent right to plants and even many fungi as a protected right for the individuals, especially healing plants and herbs. So the people are ahead of the government for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? There's big business in keeping people incarcerated, and that's something that most people don't understand as well.
Well, sometime maybe you should do a show on that, because that is a serious element that you're correct. People don't understand the nuances of what's been going on behind the scenes of the corporate overtake of our country. And I don't mean to sound like a deep stater, but that's the reality that we actually face. Is a lot of influence has been done to keep us part of the meal ticket, to keep the mighty machine rolling along.
I agree. Yeah, totally. It is. And I don't know how we get out of this, but its government just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just this big, huge monster that's only serving to itself at this point.
Yes, and the self seems to be self-destructive, and we're helping it. In many cases, with these political divides, you see people rallying for one side or the other, when the truth is both sides are somewhat working against the middle, which is us.
Exactly.
And yet they get a lot of us to actually support their efforts to control us. And it's a bizarre concept from where I see.
No, I totally agree. Colby, give us the name of your shop again, one more time.
The shop is It's All Good in Bradenton, Florida. It's a smoke shop on 26th Street West, 4224 26th Street West. But more importantly is the ballot initiative at Floridians for Freedom on Facebook, FloridiansForFreedom.com. There's a petition to it's only 119 words, and like I said, it will actually make cannabis a right for all Floridians to possess, cultivate, and use, and it will allow the state to regulate as needed for the health and safety of the community. and that would be the regulation would be for the purchase and sale of cannabis, not necessarily what we do in our homes, but what the market would look like. The state would have the ability to regulate that. So that's at SolarityIsForFreedom.com. And again, if you're ever in the area, I'd love to meet you in person. My name is Colby Wise.
Thanks, Colby. I look forward to it. I do go through the area, at least once or twice a week, so hopefully I'll be able to stop by and catch you when you're there.
All right. Well, I'll get off now so you can talk to other people, but you have yourself a great show.
You too. Take care, brother.
All right. Bye-bye.
And that was a good point. And part of it is, too, that, gets me thinking about, Stack was just talking about how many people are incarcerated in the United States. And, how many people are incarcerated in China and having their organs taken out because they have no say in it. Hello, caller. You're on the air. And who do we have with us now?
Hi, my name is Erin, and I am located in central Illinois.
Hi, Erin. What would you like to talk about?
Well, a couple of things, actually. I am also just sort of feeling like things are getting down to the wire, sort of go time. A lot of the dreams that I have been having seem to have a common theme of people sort of mostly running from the government in groups, like so sort of hold up together, like maybe in a warehouse, and the government is tracking them down. Those are the things that I have been mostly dreaming about, and all sort of because of a power outage disaster accompanied with some event on the West Coast that I'm just not quite clear about. But during the dreams, we get bits of news from people that we meet. But definitely our electrical grid, our communication system, everything goes down. The other thing that I sort of wanted to talk about is just in general, even people who aren't, I guess, what I would consider awake, everyone is feeling the crunch from our economy. Even people, my father owned his own business for many years and retired, and he is starting to even feel the crunch of the way food prices are going up and everything else is going up, but, our wages or retirement amounts, those are not going up. Even just general people that I work in dialysis, so I have a lot of time that I can come in contact with different people, from the patients all the way to like doctors and nurses and, people at the hospitals. And it seems like more than not what people want to talk about is how is everyone affording to live now? I just have one child and I make a fairly decent income. My husband has had a couple of hernias, so he has, his earning ability has went down quite a bit from what he used to do, and we're struggling now. And it's not like for 3 or 4 years I've sort of been out of the loop of watching television and things like that, because I believe we are, in some aspects, being programmed. The propaganda seems really heavy in the news. And I really don't think it will be that long before our country is in a situation like Venezuela is. And I don't think people are really taking this seriously. We're talking about homelessness, and honestly, if I miss a month of pay, I would be in that situation. My mortgage is paid a month in advance, but I'm not the type of person that I pay my bills on time. But I mean, we're just not that far off. One tragedy, something like that, and I think most people in America would go under. And that seems so different from when I was growing up. And, so my father was making, during that time I was growing up, he was making $20 an hour at a foundry job. Those jobs aren't really around anymore. Everything has been shipped overseas or to temp agencies to fill orders for those companies. They don't have actual employees anymore. They're farming out the labor because it's cheaper for them. And this is what our government has allowed, and you were just talking about the government, how it continues to get larger. And because it's so large, there's such an opportunity for mismanagement of funds or embezzling, and we'll never find those things out. But with black budget and everything like that, we are just going to work. I mean, at least my generation, I'm 46, I feel like I will never be able to retire. I'm still paying on student loans. I've paid already double what I borrowed. You know, my daughter is going to be going to college in 3 more years. She's going to have to figure that out on her own because I'm still paying for my student loans. And there are so many generations that are being graduated from college, and there's no way to pay back those loans because the jobs just aren't there. So I think we're much closer to a financial collapse than most people realize. And how that's going to start is people are going to actually start to be dissatisfied with, you know, they can't afford bread this week, or, you know, their utilities get shut off, and, you know, where is the money going to come from? And I think that's the corner that most of us are being backed into at this point. And there will be a point where it breaks, and there will be riots. And I think the government is sort of on the edge of, you know, riding this out as long as they can. But at the same time, I see them, what I believe is reducing population with vaccines and manufactured viruses, weaponized viruses, and unfortunately I think weather warfare as well. There were so many people lost in Puerto Rico, and I would imagine, even though the storm in Hawaii has turned slightly, I would imagine that there's going to be quite a loss of life in Hawaii as well. It has me wondering, why those tropical island areas? Because they're not as densely populated as some of the metro areas like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. But maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's a testing ground to see what they can get away with. I think that's sort of the unfortunate reality of what we're living in now. I'm just not sure what to do about it other than to be prepared. And the cities make it very difficult for you to do that. We were allowed to have chickens until last month, and our council decided no more urban chickens, city council. And there was no particular reason for it, but it just seems to me like they're helping this along. The government is helping this along. You know, if we were allowed to be self-sufficient in some areas, like I have a half an acre where I live, and I didn't think that was quite enough. I wanted to learn to grow on a larger scale, and I wanted to put some raised beds, not necessarily at the front of my yard, but in the front yard, in front of my fence, which was still, 100 foot back from the road. But they had a problem with that, and it wasn't anything that looked, you know, nasty or anything. I had gotten some salvaged treated lumber that came from a deck, so it looked very nice. But they came around and told me that I was not allowed to do that. And I think, you know, while I don't live necessarily in the city, I am at the very edge. Like there's just, you know, a half a mile before the city limits where I'm at. So I'm in a little bit better of a situation than some. But it's very frustrating, and I think even the people that I run into on a daily basis, you know, that are not necessarily awake, they're feeling this as well. Do you find that? Do you find a lot of people just dissatisfied in general with, you know, you work 40 hours a week or more. I feel like you should be able to afford a decent way of life. And I don't have credit cards and a lot of that, but even people who do probably find it more frustrating.
I totally agree with what you're saying, and I got to the point where I was just not able to tolerate being in the corporate world anymore, where it was just making me so sick. In every way, shape, and form. I was, you know, the last corporate jobs I really did was running retirement communities. and so I managed retirement communities. And I love the people in my communities. You know, I got 50 to 100 hugs every day. And, you know, it was all about the people. And when, you know, some would die and pass on, you know, I would be heartbroken. And meanwhile, my boss is calling me up saying, how soon are you going to have that apartment turned around? How soon? Who's going to rent that apartment?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm thinking, you know, I loved, you know, Anne, for instance, or whoever it was. You know, I got to know them. I love them. They were my family. They're gone, and it's like already they're just thinking in terms of we're losing, you know, $300 a day on that apartment. You know, and so why don't you have it turned over yet? Why don't you have somebody else in there? And you know, it's just it makes me sick. You know, because that is the mentality of this corporate world. There is no compassion in this corporate world at all.
No.
And you know what, these are rich guys on their yachts, you know, and you know, it's just disgusting, you know, and they don't care that people are starving in the streets, and they don't care about anybody's situation. You know, a mom or a dad that all of a sudden gets cancer, and you know, everything might have been going great, and now all of a sudden, you know, they're scrambling just to buy food. You know, and the corporations don't care. And who are the corporations? When you boil it down, they're just a handful of rich, greedy individuals. You know, we tend to non-personalize corporations, but ultimately they are people, and they're people that control, you know, the well-being, the resources. They control the destiny of so many people, and it's just so wrong. The whole society is wrong. The whole system is wrong. It needs to be completely revamped. You know, and sometimes when I get really irritated about it, you know, it reminds me of a Tool song, where, you know, if you ever heard the Tool song, Enema, and it says, Mom's going to fix it all soon, Mom's going to just flush it all away, you know, and bring it back to the way it ought to be. Because, you know, it's like, we can't do it. We almost can't do it now. They're building these killer robots. They have drones that are going to be in the skies watching us. You step out of line, they're just going to hit you with either a laser or a bullet. That's the society we're heading for. You know, it's a total Big Brother society where they're going to have the robotics and the technology to control 99.99% of the population with just a few people.
I think unfortunately a lot of people don't realize that technology already exists. Oh, sorry about that. My dog just stepped on it. The UN, the United States was sanctioned under Barack Obama, and I didn't know this until recently, that they were sanctioned for about 2,500 executions by drone. We're already doing that. Right. This is already happening. It's already a reality. You can find it just by looking at sanctions by the UN for the U.S. And homelessness is just becoming such a huge problem. And you're right, with the corporate America, at least in our corporation, they will drive you into the ground. They want as much as they can squeeze out of you for as little as they have to give you. You know, I see that a lot of our social workers are moving on to different jobs, and they find out it's not any different there. If they're working for a large corporation, and that, of course, the only way out of that is to work for a not-for-profit or a small business, and you're not going to make the money that you need to be able to pay your house payment. So it's really very frustrating, and I think we are coming to a head in this very soon on many fronts. And it's probably an unpopular view, but I believe that the skills that I have and I've been collecting over the last 4 or 5 years, I've become a master gardener and a few other things on my own. And so I would be happier to get out of the rat race and off the grid. But actually coming up with the money to do that is really impossible for us. At this point, at least until my daughter goes away to college, and depending on how much I have to help her, maybe even then. But I just can't see a way through to make that move right now. And unfortunately, I think the only way that that's going to happen is if the grid goes down. And boy, there'll be such loss of life. It will just be so horrible. And, I do worry about people coming to take, what I've grown or prepared for. I worry about that a lot, but, like you said, the other option is to turn people away. There is some safety in numbers. You would have to have somebody, to help protect your property and watch around the clock. And I think if people don't realize that, they probably can just read a couple of apocalyptic novels because they seem to be very, what I would consider accurate and things you would never consider. And sometimes I wonder, are these things given to people? Where do these stories come from? Right. Are they warnings? How do these people come up with these ideas to put them in writing?
How old is your daughter right now?
She's 15.
She's 15. So she's going to go off in about 3 years. She's going off to college.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's the plan.
3 years from now. From everything I've heard from all my sources, some of which are kind of like inside sources that I know are connected. By the time we are in, say, 2021, the world's totally different. And, in 2024, honestly, my gut is telling me there's going to be such a huge population reduction by 2024. I mean, it's going to be pretty much a Mad Max scenario in so many ways, just from that population reduction. But, the speed up by 2021, who knows what we're going to be facing, but this is going to be a completely different world. So, I mean, we look at things from the sense of, how we would look at them in a normal scenario, but we're not in that normal scenario, and things are completely changing at a very, very fast rate. So it's more a case of, just preparing and realizing that the world that we've counted on is not going to be there. It's going to be a different world. So
already you can see by going to the grocery store, like you said, some of the products aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh produce is very expensive if it doesn't look bad. You know
right.
what I mean? It's very difficult. I noticed here a while back there were no oranges to be had, and I realized it's sort of out of season, but there always were, from somewhere. There would always be at least that selection, and I've noticed that we haven't had that for lately. And so, with all of the crop loss and everything around the globe, I truly believe it's just a matter of time. And I think it was your video that showed how much a chicken costs in Venezuela, and it's just, it's a year's salary at this point. Who has that? A lot of people, unfortunately, are not going to make it through.
No, and just to talk about a couple of different channels. Well, I was listening to Diamond over at Oppenheimer, and I don't agree with everything that Diamond says, but I do think a lot of it he's really right on. But when he came out and basically said that, and I don't know if I have the exact timing right, but if we say 10 years. I know it wasn't 10 years. And Dave from Adapt 2030, same thing. They're thinking more like in that 5 to maybe 8 year range. Half the population on the world's gone. Half the world population is gone in that time period. And they're just looking at the grand solar minimum perspective. They're not taking into account World War III. They're not taking into account a pole shift. They're only looking at the fact that, the grand solar minimum, crop losses due to these crazy extreme storms that we're seeing, the flooding, the droughts, then the cold weather that's going to be really settling in. And so they're not even taking into consideration the other things yet, but they are already recognizing that we're going to go from like 7.6, 7.7 billion people to like half of that, to like 3.8, 3.9 within a decade for sure.
Yeah, I think there's, I can't remember what the website is, but it's basically have always been in charge of like projecting populations to the world. And by 2025, it seems to be that over half of our population in the U.S. will be gone, and by 2030, you know, it seems to hold to that UN 2030 agenda or the Georgia Guidestones that, you know, we'll be down to a 500 million population in the world. So it's a little bit scary to think of that. And my child, for example, wants nothing to do with all of this gardening and prepping that her mother is doing. And so I'm extremely worried about her. She will be, I believe, one of the ones that won't make it if she's away from me. So, not that I'm going to make it, but I think I have a better shot than a lot of people who have their heads stuck in the ground and who are too busy worrying about how they're going to pay their electric bill and everything else that people have to worry about on a daily basis. And that's part of the plan, I believe.
Yeah, so if you look at Deagle.com, and this was revised upwards, you know, current U.S. population is 327 million. Come 2025, it's going to be 100 million. So we're losing, you know, 227 million people according to their statistics. That is
something we should pay attention to.
Oh my God!
The governments of this world and the people who are in charge of projecting that are saying that. Why isn't this bigger news? Why aren't more people waking up to this? It's very scary. I think it's programming by Hollywood and our news. You know, and people actually just struggling day to day to make it.
They are, and when you look at Deagle's site, they don't talk military. They talk migration, people leaving, people succumbing to diseases, people succumbing to famine. How do you see, you know, 227 million Americans migrating in just like the next 6 or 7 years? You know, that's not going to happen. You know, it's not migration. And even if we have an economic collapse, but they are definitely, and they are definitely pointing towards that. That's what they are saying by their stats, that we're going to have this massive economic collapse in the West. I still personally feel we're also going to have World War III. I think that the U.S. gets attacked because I've just had these dreams ever since I was 19. I've had dreams of this, and I just had one 2 nights ago. And many of you have had these dreams as well as so many people, and even George Washington had the vision as the night before he was crossing, you know, the famous Valley Forge crossing. He had that vision of the U.S., you know, being attacked and invaded. And so we have Deborah Tavares as well, you know, going ahead and saying that that's part of the plan is for Russia and China together to detonate nukes off the coast, which will cause huge tsunamis, and it's going to look like it's a natural disaster. And then there's the invasion, you know. So and
well, in my dreams, the troops do not speak English. They do not speak English, and the only thing I can figure is UN or an invasion. Right. I mean, they're so real. They're so real that I've been to the doctor about them to see why I can't sleep anymore. It's very frightening to wake up like that. And I've never been afraid of the dark or anything like that even as a child. But it is very disturbing, the reality of this. And more I feel that it's getting closer, and I feel like that's why I'm having more of these dreams lately.
I agree, and I feel it's very close as well. And my dream the other night, 2 nights ago, I went to sleep, and in my dream, I said to my girlfriend, "You know what? It's so weird to know that tomorrow, when I wake up, there's going to be foreign troops on American soil." And so that made me think that the initial thing I was seeing now was not necessarily an invasion, although I have seen an invasion clearly. And in the invasion, I'm in Florida, and when I had this dream, I was in Connecticut. This was like 30 years ago, so long ago. And I was holding a guy. There was an elderly gentleman that I was basically given a piggyback ride to because his feet were blown off by a mine or something. And I was carrying him, and I heard somebody say that the foreign troops are 20 miles behind us right now. We're going to have to push harder and faster. And I know I was in Florida at that point in time. So, right now I'm feeling like I want to get out of Florida as soon as possible, because I feel like my dreams are coming true, and I need to, get out of here quickly so that they don't come true. But I do feel like the time is very, very close. And honestly, I feel, in my heart of hearts, I feel that the military aspects of it will happen before 2021.
Well, I need more flour and salt. Lots of other things, but those are very hard, I think, to keep in the stockpile, and you have to rotate the flour at least. So I guess we'll get through one way or another, or we won't, and then we'll have to worry about it. So I don't think people, in that aspect of it, as long as you have faith, you are never going to be totally alone. And that is so important, especially going into this, that, people have a relationship with God, or whoever they, I guess, feel is their God, or just spirituality in general will give people a lot of comfort. And that, unfortunately, is lacking, and it's very much under attack, especially in America right now.
It totally is. It totally is. And the thing that's been popping in my head lately is the fact that, and I don't know if I understand it totally, but I feel there's a Trojan horse here in America, in the U.S. It's just one of those things where sometimes words pop into your head, or visions. And so I do feel like we're being set up in so many ways. And I think it's close. I do think it's very close. But we shall see, and we do need to all band together.
My call.
Oh, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
I very much appreciate what you do, and just keep on doing it.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for sharing, and you were an awesome caller, and please call back as much as you like.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Namaste, sister. So that was a great call, and there's just so much truth in there. So much truth in there. So what I was saying was, this dream I had was a little different than my other ones. The first one I had was, I was 19 years old, and basically there were both planes and helicopters in the sky coming in, and there was also ships and submarines, and they were landing on both shores, and they were everywhere. And it was a very, very scary feeling, and it was definitely a World War III type of scenario, but for some reason the United States was absolutely crippled, and the U.S. wasn't able to respond, or did not respond. Maybe it chose not to respond, or maybe it didn't respond, but it was left wide open, and it was like an invasion that was happening. And then I've had this dream now 5 times, and it's been elaborated on each time. And the last time that I shared with you guys just recently was just 2 nights ago. And in it, I went to sleep. I saw the troops were coming. And the troops were coming in both ships, also in planes. But this was a little bit different, because I felt that this was maybe perhaps in response to some sort of quote-unquote natural disaster. As if, at first I thought, were they UN troops? But then I thought, no, I don't know if they are UN troops. Because my other dreams are always about Chinese and Russian troops. And one of the things I will share with you, I mean, so many people have seen this as well. One of our sisters that lives over in the East Coast, over in the Melbourne area, shared with me just 2 days ago when I told her about mine. She shared with me her dreams, and she saw the same thing. She saw an invasion. She saw Russian and Chinese troops coming in, and she saw that it was kind of a setup, kind of a Trojan horse thing, and that's what I've been getting as well, that there really is somebody opening the back door. And the country is going to be attacked and invaded, and that's just what I've dreamed going back to 1984. So I've always had that in my mind, and it's always haunted me. And I feel we're really close. And back when I first had these dreams, I knew I was in Florida in the dreams, but yeah, I lived in Connecticut. And I've lived in 7 different states. And so, Florida is where I am now. Although I'm actively looking to move up and out. And if I had the time and the money, basically, and was able to help bring other people with me, I would probably move out of the whole country, honestly. But yet, I've made the decision that, I'm not going to abandon friends and family and loved ones. So whatever happens, happens. Although I do feel, honestly, that what's going to happen in the next several years, unfortunately, or however you look at it, the United States is going to be one of the hardest hit countries on the world. It's going to hit the U.S. harder than most places. So the last dream I had basically was that there were troops on their way here, and somehow we knew they were coming in, and that it was so strange to think that I was going to wake up in the morning and be in Florida and potentially see foreign troops walking down the streets. So what would do that? There must be some sort of huge natural disaster. And immediately I thought, well, logically, that must be NATO troops or UN troops maybe coming in to help because of some huge natural disaster. And perhaps that is what it is. And then I got this video from not one, but 3 different people sending me the same video. And the video is Deborah Tavares. And you know what? She's speaking about this plan where the Russians and the Chinese are going to detonate a nuclear device in the ocean that's going to cause a 300 to 1,000 foot tsunami. And it's going to look like it's a natural disaster, but it's not really. It's actually an act of war. And so it just felt like, oh man, this is all getting pieced together way, way too concisely. And it feels like this is not just coincidence. This feels like this all goes together way too good, way too easily. And it made me feel really like, kind of like, oh crap, I could see all this so clearly. Very disconcerting. And I hope it's not the case. But somehow I know that it's all going to come down. I just know it. But at the same time, we do have power and we do have free will. So we must utilize that now more than ever. We have to use all of our power, all of our strength, everything that we could possibly do to make sure that that doesn't come true. And we need to prepare just in case, my friends. So we do have an open line, so anybody that's out there, we have time for like one more call tonight. Give a call in, 614-400-5835, and tell me what you're thinking about. Again, 614-400-5835. We have time for one more caller tonight. Little 11 says that's bad karma for our country to have or to bear. And you know what? It's true. But you know what? We've been used. The United States used to stand for something, and it was It was the country that would take in everybody and anybody. It was the country that was a place where refugees could come and have a chance. But the corporate, the cabal, the Illuminati, whatever we want to call these people that are in charge, they've now used the United States as their personal military, their personal policemen, to carry out their will, to attack countries that we don't have really any reason to attack, other than to control their resources. And they're creating horrible karma for any of us that live in the United States, and for our children and our children's children. And it's a travesty that that's allowed to happen. It should not happen. People used to have pride in their military and their people. And, it's at a point now where we are all, unfortunately, becoming tools of the corporate powers that be. And it's just wrong. It's just wrong. We need to shed them. We need to get rid of them in any way we can. I don't know how we could do that at this point. Suggestions are definitely welcome. We've talked about stepping out of their matrix and hitting them where it counts, which is obviously financially, economically, because that's how they've controlled us. As Little 11 says, is the military an arm of the NWO? Most definitely. Most definitely, they're using it. Totally. They're using it as a tool. And so our children go in with good intention, but in reality, they're just being used by these elite. And it's just so wrong. It's just so wrong. And, I have a son that's actually in the military as well. And I don't know where he is because, he's wanted to go into the Rangers. And so, who knows where he is. And I don't agree with all that, but it doesn't matter. Everybody has their own free will. So we all make our own decisions and our own choices. My family's always been career Navy. My grandfather was in the Navy for 35 years. My uncle as well. And basically, my family is all career Navy people. And I was the only one that didn't go in, although I was going to go in. But when I met a woman who became my first wife, it kept me from going in. Otherwise, I would have gone in and I might have become a totally different person. But such is history. And I love how much you guys are sharing with each other over in the chat room. That is awesome. And we are going to go live often. I anticipate going live 4 to 5 times during the week, and because I feel like it's so important, you guys have to have your voices heard. We will work towards going live as much as possible, as many days of the week as we can, because we need to share. You guys need to share, and I want you guys to share with each other, with me, with the whole world. And we don't have a lot of time right now. Things are really escalating very fast. So we need to share with each other. We need to bond together. We need to grow stronger together, and we will. And I do think these live feeds are critical right now. Totally critical. We're going to put aside whatever differences we have, and we're going to find the things that bind us together. And we're going to utilize those things and become stronger together. And of course, we're not going to rely on any government to tell us and guide us as to what we can do and should do during these times, because we know they're doing their plans, they're taking care of themselves, they're taking care of their loved ones, their family, and they're purposely leaving people in the dark. Because it'll just be less people to take care of later on, less problems, less to deal with, and that unfortunately is the way they view it. So we'll be doing live feeds. I'll try to do them at least 4 or 5 nights a week. And, I want you guys to speak out. I want you guys to have your voice heard. And we're going to grow with this. We're going to grow together. And we're going to share. And we're going to become closer together and become a stronger family together. And support each other in whatever way we can, as long as the grid is up. And then, even when the grid isn't up, many of us will end up coalescing into groups together. And that's a beautiful thing. Because after all the changes, we're going to be going back to a tribal system. And so, we're finding our tribes right now. We're finding our people. And it's a beautiful thing when you find your people. And it's wonderful to see you guys not judging each other out there, even though we might have differences of opinion, even though we might be in different places, in our philosophies and our religious beliefs. Hey, we recognize that there's something greater, and that something greater is that which binds us all together. And so we share our love, we share our expertise with each other, and we move forward together. So my guys, my friends, my Evolutionary Energy Arts family, I will thank you guys for tonight's broadcast. Thank you for sharing what you did. I look forward to speaking with you guys again very, very shortly, perhaps even tomorrow night, and maybe we'll have some more brave people actually call in, share what they want to share with us. So let's see some of our family members that have been very, very active in the chat rooms actually call in and share. It's wonderful to hear somebody live that you have seen contribute in the chat room, or perhaps has emailed me and I recognize who they are, and then all of a sudden we hear your voice and we get a better feel for who you really are, and it helps us grow closer together. So my friends, I want to thank you for this. As always, may you be blessed with abundant peace, love, health, well-being, and all good things may be kept safe in these times. Again, let's focus on knocking that storm, Hurricane Lane, westward so it doesn't go over and impact the islands directly. May the damage be minimal. May we grow together every day stronger. Namaste, my friends. God bless, and thank you for joining us once again. Good night, my family.